Lord, we thank you for this time. We thank you for this opportunity to be able to have a great conversation. This time and everything that we talk about, Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, I attended the Oral Roberts University. I preach at times, but we're really not here to hear me talk about me preaching. And to my left, we have a very special guest, Mr. Chase Brown himself. He was born in Texas. He attended University of North Texas. He's an aspiring philanthropic creative, and it is almost 95 degrees in Texas right now. So that means very long walks on the beach. How you doing today, sir?
Opposite of that, bro.
What do you mean? You like walking on the beach?
Bro, you know I sweat too easy.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't walk on the beach.
This got to be like 80, 85.
80?
Okay, 85, 90.
In Texas?
I'll give it that. Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, I need to be in the lake on a boat.
Dressed like Adam Sandler.
We're not bringing this up. We're not bringing this up.
All right, we ain't got to bring it up.
Austin is already moving in here in about a month.
Yeah.
And he already going to bring that up enough.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy for sure. Yeah.
You could say that again.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a relationship between being crazy tall and being goofy.
That man's like 6'10".
But something like that. So.
You guys have a 6'10" person moving in here?
Yeah, bro. That's why I told him. I was like, we lowered the doors a little bit, so I don't know if we could let you in.
We don't know how that's going to work, but we'll try to figure it out.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
For him.
I hope.
And to watch.
I hope.
Yeah. It'll be great. Outside of that, I'm good though, bro. Are those new kicks?
No.
Both of y'all? Both of
No,
those
these
are dope.
aren't new. These aren't new.
Oh, no, these are old. These old things, you know how that goes.
But you got money, though.
Nah, I don't got money like that.
That's not your Porsche in the front?
Nah, I work in ministry. We ain't got money.
That's not your shoe collection up there?
I work in a
I
ministry.
just
We
want
ain't
to
got
let you
money
know,
like that.
so does Creflo Dollar. He's a
Of course.
G5.
That's true. I need to get me one. I gotta start raising funds right now that we speak about it. But as
Donation link in the description.
Yeah, no, don't worry. Make sure you go contribute to the link down below. We have a very special guest for you guys. Oh man, jeez. Out of all the guests, today's the day we bring you guys a big timer.
Okay.
I have an intro for him just because, I reached out to his people to say to make sure to read all these different things.
You called me.
And so
Got to be at least somewhat professional, yeah.
I got to try to be professional.
Me, I was pumping my gas in my Camry.
That's not how it went. So,
He just being humble.
yeah, he's just being humble. Today,
5-time humble guy of the year.
we have a 6-time most humble guy of the year. A 5-time, some people say best musician of DFW.
Okay.
I don't know how you got that title.
It's interesting.
4-time best new podcaster. He's a voice of the people, so from what I'm hearing.
Wow.
3-time New York Times best Christian of the year. That's a big honor. I don't know how
Didn't
he
know
got
they
that,
had that
but
award.
he got that. 2 times United Nations most influential Christian of the year.
Can't forget the UN.
Yeah, the
Very
UN.
important
Very
people.
important. 1-time child of God. I feel like that one weighs a lot, has
Because
a lot of weight.
you only need to be a child of God once.
Amen to that. You're already preaching.
I guess he's already preaching.
I want you to know I'm going to bring you on the podcast just so I can repay this tenfold.
What do you mean? Bro, you're a big deal, so it's like, totally
I'm
right.
going to drag this out in the most dramatic fashion I know how.
Bro, you're a big deal. And here on our podcast, we like to give flowers.
I'm going to actually invest my own money, which I have very little of, into repaying this tenfold. Prepare
Wow.
yourself. There will be a red carpet.
Wow.
There will probably be confetti,
Wow.
maybe a spotlight.
I got some confetti in the garage. I got you.
Thank you, Chase.
Wow.
Yeah.
If we can get a round of applause for Mr. Elisha McCall, please. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you guys doing?
We're good, man.
Bro.
We're good.
It's a Monday.
It is.
I'm not that tired. I'm good.
You're usually always tired for some reason. He's always tired.
You guys always
he's known for
record
that.
on Mondays?
We've been doing that the last,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like Wednesdays.
Wednesday, yeah.
But then, someone over here, got the good job.
Ministry stuff,
So,
Yeah.
Obligations.
Making $5 an hour, you know how that goes.
If we say that we're by the people, for the people.
I know you make more than that.
6.
Seen what you drive.
6.
Okay. Those Balenciagas?
Huh? I beg your pardon?
those Tom Fords?
What?
Ooh, wow.
What do you mean? Tom Ford.
Yeah.
You over here being humble.
Nah, that's my stimulus check. That's all you see.
They ain't passed those out since like,
years
what, like
ago at this
2020?
Bro, I'm trying to make it stretch.
Okay, be careful. They throwing people in jail for making things stretch.
Let's take this part out. Let's take this part out now.
And I know you ain't flexible. So you start hooping and you just go in there.
Let's take this part out
gosh.
of the podcast. We don't need the FBI.
Pull a muscle every time you do a bench press.
I do.
That's tough.
Yeah, I'm not as young as I used to be, you know?
It's fair.
We all relate.
Yeah.
We all relate.
That's generally how time works.
Man, so I heard you're 28.
I am.
28 years old. Mm-hmm. Here's my question for you.
Okay.
So before I turned 25, I thought I was going to be, you know, doing whatever. I would have been married, had a house, living the American dream as the expression goes. 25 came. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that expectation that we put on ourselves in the sense to, you know, by this age, I want to be doing this. Those of us that are a little bit older, past in our 20s, we're younger, right? But for those that might be listening that are still early in their 20s, a lot of people are graduating right now.
Yeah.
They need a word of advice, encouragement.
Shout out to all y'all.
Shout out to all of them. What do you say to those people?
Man, I think we love to try to figure things out without understanding that, like, you don't figure something out until you go through it. And I think we get ahead of ourselves because we have the end goal in mind a lot of times.
Yeah.
And we have, like, this is where I want to be with no concept of how to get there. And so I was 19 saying I was going to be married at 25. My relationships at 19 didn't look like somebody who was going to be married in 6 years.
Talk about it.
I said I wanted to start having kids at 30. That was also when I was like 19, 20. I didn't have any plan, you know what I'm saying? So I think we love to talk about the end goal. We love to talk about goals. But I think that's the vision. A lot of us get messed up on, like, the details. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, I think, is pretty good at, like, being up in the clouds and saying, I want this, I want that. But when it comes down to understanding what it takes to get there, you know what I'm saying, what it takes to get to the wife, the kids, and then that's before we start talking about I want to have $1 million or I want to have this house, that car, what it takes to get some of these things and just the sheer greatness that comes with consistency is just, like, foreign to so many of us.
Yeah.
And so I think expectation sometimes robs us of like that beauty that you get when you go through the process. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
The whole what is the phrase pressure makes diamonds or whatever, or, you know, we're Christian, we like to say iron sharpens iron, and it sounds good, but until you look at the process of, like, ironing being sharpened, it's not fun. It's not safe.
Yeah.
You know, people used to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? When they were making forged swords, that is dangerous. So, like, that idea of I want to be sharp, a lot of times is void of the process of the sharpening. So I think it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, bro. Because even now, I have to constantly reevaluate, like, what is success? Right? I'm 28. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have a nice house. You know what I'm saying? But what is success? Am I better than what I was at 25? I would say so. But we oftentimes, like, allow other things to dictate what is successful for us instead of, like, what does success look like for me? Josue IG, Chase. You know what I'm saying? It can be different.
What do you think are some of these things that contribute towards that?
Contributes towards success?
No, towards us having...
Oh, the expectations.
Expectations, yeah.
Yeah, I think TV, social media. And I'm not a guy that's, like, anti-social media because I think, like, they're tools. You know what I'm saying? But a hammer can be used to hang a picture and a hammer can be a murder weapon. It's about how it's used. And so I think sometimes we get these tools and we misuse them or we use them for something else, right? So I think social media definitely plays a part in it because it shows us, again, the finished product. the filtered product, right? The selected product. Like I may not show you, last week I, got in a fight with my girlfriend and now she broke up with me. But I'll put this picture of like, just hit my goal at work, top seller, whatever. And it's like, that's what I wanted you to see, right? I'm not even where you think I am. And so we start to get caught up in like somebody, I've heard it before, I can't remember where, but somebody said it's like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is like people's highlight reels. It's the highlight reel of their life. It's not like what's really going on in the day-to-day. And so I think that also helps us get caught up in these unrealistic expectations because we're keeping up with like the edited portion of people's life. And it's like there's beauty in everything. The ugliness, the brokenness, the happiness, the joy, the success, the failure. Like he's going to tell me it's good when I get up to heaven. Everything. Every single thing he's going to say, well done. That's well done for the failure, well done for the sin, well done for the, the falling short. All of it gets the well done. God doesn't nitpick the well done. It's everything gets the well done. And so I think we lose sight of that and we try to like keep up with something that's not real. Like I'm not trying to, and it's really tough, honestly. I know 3 or 4 people in my head right now that I was in college with that are making close to like $2-3 million a year. 27. $2 million a year consistently. One of them the last 4 years. Insane. And I'm just like, dang, look at me. I'm like $52,000 a year in my nonprofit. What is success? Mitch likes to talk about marketplace. Well, one thing for me, I'm in a nonprofit sector. Am I impacting people? That is success. Trying to measure success by what he measures success by is actually kind of like not even a smart thing to do. It's not realistic because what his measurables and goals are different than my measurables and goals based on where I'm placed. And so I think, again, like looking at other people's lives, these unrealistic expectations, and I'll say this, the last thing is like, expectation in and of itself is not bad. I think unchecked expectations can be dangerous. So like I had this expectation when I was like 22, and I never check it again. I never reevaluate it. I think we do that with people a lot. We meet them at a point, and that's who they are for the rest of their lives, or for the rest of the time that we know them. Right. And it's like we have to constantly reevaluate, and ask ourselves, okay, this is who this person was. Are they still that person? This is what I wanted. Do I still want that? Yeah.
It's like a million things I could go on, but I love it. No, because I mean that is very much what I do. I'm not saying you rambled, but I ramble. So it's just funny. I love it. But literally, you talking about looking at others and just like happiness and just things like that of like, and looking at everything and trying to find the joy in everything, like something that I cannot get over in the last probably close to a month at this point. Like we all know James 1. Like think of the various tests you encounter as occasions for joy. After all, the testing of your faith produces endurance. But like this is like the thing I just can't get over. Let this endurance complete its work so that you may be fully mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. And the fact of basically like we look at happiness and joy and comfortability even as the goal a lot of times. And the indicator of success is like, all right, can I lay around on a Sunday and watch football and then be fine because I don't got to worry about meeting this bill or meeting that bill, or can I do this or can I do that? Whenever it's like, no, like, what is happening with my maturity? And am I growing more mature in what I'm doing? And that also being how we, in a way, care for others. Especially like whenever we become parents one day, like because I had this conversation with my mom. I'm gonna keep some of that to the side, but basically it was like, hey, like make sure that you are pressing into me and looking into me about my maturity rather than my happiness and things like that. And like that should be the goal of the parent, and it's tough because of everything that causes of different tension, because the idea that the child has of different things in life of like, oh no, like Sally's parents are all nice to her and like she's still doing fine, but it's just like, okay, that might work for Sally, but your maturing process might look different than other people. And we think it all should all be uniform in some sort of way, whenever it's like, I don't really think that's what the father's heart is, and I don't really think that's what's needed either. And then going back to one other thing that you talked about like, you know, we have these expectations, and expectations in and of themselves aren't bad things, and that we have this vision, but we just don't really know maybe how to get there or just like whatever. I mean, literally Proverbs 16, a man's heart plans his course, but the Lord determines or directs his steps. Exactly. And that's something I'm like, okay, like, all right, yeah, I would love to be married one day. Do I know how I'm going to get there? Like, all right, I maybe know a couple pieces, but like outside of that, I don't know the timing of it. I don't know anything outside of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like, it's interesting because the point about meeting somebody at one point and kind of just being fixated on that, you know, to where you meet them later on, or I don't know how it was for you guys, but for me growing up, it's there was always these aunties that that carried you when you were a baby, or they saw you when you were young, and they see you as an adult, and they're like, oh, you changed, and it's like,
what was I supposed to do?
exactly. It's like, well, what did you think was going to happen during all that time? Like, I was going to still be the same person. Right. And which is, I mean, to both of you guys' points, is like, there has to be a maturing process that happens.
Because how much of a tragedy would that be if you stayed the same?
The same person.
If you're 28 years old and still speaking goo goo gaga.
Yeah.
Because if they saw that, they wouldn't be like, yay, you didn't grow up.
Right.
They'd be genuinely concerned.
Exactly. But, you know, they like making those statements that you've changed and everything else that entails. But speaking of change, that was a, what they call it, appetizer. Yeah. Yeah, we threw you guys an appetizer. Speaking of change.
What's the comparison to the appetizer, though? Would that be like buffalo wings? Would that be some asparagus, some garlic bread?
Spinach dip?
Spinach dip.
Yeah.
It's an appetizer.
Nah.
I'm not the biggest fan of spinach dip.
Oh, my bad. This is offend your refined palate, spinach dip and
Nah, I'm a vegan, you know. Y'all know me. I'm a vegan.
I've seen you eat chicken.
Plant-based. It was plant-based. It was plant-based. It wasn't real chicken. I don't partake. No, it's the what's that thing called from Pluckers? The mac and cheese, the fried mac and cheese.
The holy mac and cheese.
Have you had that?
I have, yeah.
That thing goes hard.
It does, right?
Fried mac and cheese, yes.
But tell me, you eat it with the raspberry sauce?
I eat it with
the
ranch like everybody else.
Bro, please,
Raspberry
next time.
sauce?
What's raspberry sauce?
What is this?
It's like this raspberry chutney that comes with it. I'm telling you, I thought it was crazy the first time too.
It is.
And then I tried it and I was like, all right, having this at least like half the time with
It's like
it
when
is
somebody
like
offers me crickets.
amazing.
They're like, it's great. You just got to try
Wait,
it.
crickets?
I don't think I have to try
Wait,
everything.
like actual crickets?
Yes.
You've never had a cricket?
You're one of those people? I don't need to try
what are you
it.
talking about?
Crickets.
Like the ones that be outside making noises.
Like, they get actual crickets. They, like,
The
season
fried
them.
and stuff is seasoned, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good. No. Why do I need to eat that?
I've tried it, but you can keep it.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not saying I was eating it. I'm just curious.
You're taking it a little personal.
No.
You are.
I'm just making sure I'm engaged with our guests.
It's just like, I don't have to try everything to know I won't like it.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like, I'm not going to say that.
Nope.
He would take that personal. Never mind.
Probably.
Yeah, whatever you're gonna say, I'm gonna take personally. So let's not get to that.
No.
So podcasts. Oof. As I mentioned earlier, man, so I remember you guys started a podcast, and we have a small podcast. We have a little small podcast. And I was like, oh man, that's so nice. You know, those are such great guys. Yourself, we've had Street on. We haven't spoken with Caleb yet, so hopefully we'll be able to have Mr.
Coming
Barry
soon.
on. And I thought you guys were just doing your own thing. I said, you know what? They're having a nice podcast. We have a small podcast. They have a small podcast. And that's what I was thinking. And then I get on Instagram one day, and to my surprise, there are videos going around and
Going viral.
going
as they call
viral, as the kids are calling it. And man, so I mean, it's been a joy to kind of see that process and the reaction you guys have had, and kind of just the influence you've already had. And it's been less than a year, right? Less than 5 months, even.
January.
So talk to us a little bit about the podcast, the heart of it, how you guys got into it, all that good stuff.
So it's funny though, because when Street came to me about the podcast, I was actually doing something else with somebody, another podcast, and it was one of those things where it was like, I love all of them to death, but I knew I was when I came onto that podcast, I was in a season where it was like the Lord was saying like, hey, if I don't put something on your heart, don't try to take it over and lead it and try to direct it and steer it. And so I think that podcast taught me a lot about learning how to follow and learning how to be an asset to people who are leading. And that was something I struggled with and still do, work through that thing.
Right.
But, long story short, the podcast just kind of fills it out. And not because, like, it wasn't good content or, we had beef, but, like, everybody was just kind of going their different directions in life. And people just got busy. The guy who was kind of headed it up, he was working on his music a lot. And so, and just a lot of career changes. Everybody was just going through stuff. And so, and I can say this because Mitch knows where I live and he can come find me if he has an issue with it. And I've told him this several times. But Mitchell he is the essence of a creative. Calendars, invites, notes, taboo. Doesn't believe in them.
Yeah.
And so Mitchell came to me about this podcast like in May 2020. Like, I kid you not.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, we should start a podcast. And I looked at him, I said, okay. 2-3 months later, he puts me and one other person who we were originally going to do it with in a group text. Black men do talk. We're going to start it. Okay. And so this kind of repeats, and one of the original third member kind of just dropped out. And then I think, it must have been like January. I mean, not January, maybe like November, December. He's like, okay, I really want to do this. I said, okay. We had a meeting. And we just started talking. And what's crazy is that first meeting we had, it was me, Sway, Caleb, and Mitch. The conversation we had really could have been a podcast. Because of who Mitch is, and because like he literally is just like a fire starter. Like he's like a lighter fluid. You know what I'm saying? And then like me and Caleb aren't on that level, but like we kind of tag in and go in. It was just like, yeah, this conversation, this meeting lets us know we can really do something. We can really make something shake.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it was just a perfect storm. Like, Mitchell understands how to engage on social media. He already had a following. Me and Caleb were two people who, were already kind of like dabbling in some things already. Caleb's doing a lot with 52 Creatives. I've been on a podcast before. And so it felt like we had the right pieces in place. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, we got the equipment, we pressed record, and it was just like, hey, fam, we're going to talk. And even, like, the one video that went viral, it was like, it wasn't even us.
Yeah.
Somehow, shout out to Sway, our cameraman, got me on the internet looking wild.
Oh, man, yeah, that was...
I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
what is going on? It's like, even with that, it's like, the point of the podcast is like, these are conversations that we are having as men, as black men. And it's like the world should hear about it because, one, there are misconceptions floating around. This is how black Christian men think. This is how men think. This is how Christian men think. It's like, whoa. They don't speak for us.
Right.
Let us set the record straight. One. Two, giving people a platform. There are some conversations that haven't come out yet that really push the envelope, that really challenge, where the church sits on some things, which is good because we need to really sit here and challenge ourselves on where do we sit with how we've treated like homosexual and transgenders. Where do we sit on this abortion talk? Where do we sit on racism? Where do we sit on, the whole political landscape. Like, these are things that if you ask a non-believer or somebody who doesn't go to church, you could probably ask 10 different people and you get 10 different answers on where the church stands on so many things. And that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? People knew who Jesus was. I know they knew who Jesus was because they mocked him at his death. They said, hey, look who it is, the King of the Jews. He was very clear about who he was. We have a split perception in the world right now. There are so many people who think, oh, yeah, all pastors are thieves. So many people who don't go to church who think the church and Christians hate gay people. Some of us do, right? That's a problem. But the fact that our perception is so jaded and so far from who we really should be and really are actually affects our ability to kind of come out into the world and be in the world, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the heart behind a lot of our conversations. And then also, man, it's like, this is another form of being the church. This is another form of community, like having these conversations. That's why we have, shout out to Mitch, and really shout out to Mitch and Jay, because that first episode, that's where the whole idea for the live studio audience came into play, where she was kind of chiming in. Like, that's another part of it, is like, we don't want to just have y'all listen to us talk. We not up here. We want to be with y'all. We want to be with people, have the real conversations, right? Have the organic moments. You know what I'm saying? Have the real, honest conversations where it's like, yeah, we come, we laugh, we joke. There's other conversations where like, man, like, people are in here fighting back, holding back tears, and like, this is what it needs to be. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the heart of it. And yeah, bro, we just like to, yeah, that's really it. Yeah. And so who likes it is people who likes it. You know?
And it's interesting because, like, if you look at, I can't remember if it's in 1st or 2nd Peter that he mentions it, but basically Peter, in writing his letter, is basically like, hey, I know Paul's been writing to y'all. I know he, like, up here, and it's difficult to understand, so, like, I'm going to try to help y'all a little bit. And so even with that, like, we see that posture of, I don't want to necessarily say adapting, but a posture of just getting down to people's levels, out of a love and out of a place of being sure in where you're at, and so therefore being comfortable in discussing. Because I think so many times whenever we aren't willing to discuss, and I see this in myself a lot, like whenever I'm hesitant to discuss something, it's because I'm not exactly 100% sure where I sit on it. In a place of, and for me, like, and this might be uniquely just me, I don't know, but in a place where it's like, okay, I feel like I've read a lot on this. I feel like I've watched a lot on this, but not necessarily talked it out to the point where I can articulate these thoughts that I've taken in. And at that, like, really able to fully comprehend those ideas to the point, because, I mean, they say that a lot, is like the best way of knowing something is teach about it, or whatever. But in that, I think a large amount of people, like, they just don't know where they sit on things, and so therefore they're not willing to discuss. And then from there just becomes a perception of whatever people group it is that they can represent to other people who are observing them, of just like, okay, then they're all like this, and become, using your word, like, jaded in that way. And it sucks because, I mean, for, like, as believers, like, we know that we shouldn't make those presumptions towards others, but at the same point, like, as non-believers, like, it's like, okay, like, I guess I can understand why they make presumptions, because it's not like they have the Bible to say don't do that.
Exactly.
And I think it's like, it's somewhere in Corinthians, Paul talks about, like, basically, hey, don't expect a non-believer to live like a believer. Like, why would we do that? Like, yes, we should call them higher, but, like, shouldn't surprise you that they're wilding out or whatever else. And so even in that is just like, okay, we should assume that they're gonna, I won't say that. We should not be surprised if they make presumptions about us, and that if we're put in places to defend what we believe, and that is a lot of what the apostles did in Acts. And even, I mean, Jesus doing that in various ways in his life. Now, sometimes he spoke, sometimes he was silent, so we need to follow the Spirit in those situations. and knowing exactly, hey, like, how do we handle like what is going on in this, and not even getting, just even talking from like a heart posture and like a countenance standpoint, because we can get to the truth standpoint as well. It's like, okay, all right, what is the truth in this? What does the Bible say? And then from there, it's like, okay, what's the heart posture, and how do I actually like articulate this even further?
Yeah.
But so, I mean, the space that y'all are in is demonstrating not just courage and bravery, but like this, it's a fruit of diligence. It's something where you've been diligent, because it talks about being diligent and confirming your calling. And dang, help me out, Pastor. In 2 Peter 1, right? Yeah, there we go. So it talks about that in there, but I think there's a lot of other things to be diligent in, that this is a fruit of for that.
For sure.
Yeah, it's making me think about like how you guys kind of all came in together uniquely, you know, having different, you know, gifts and talents, you know, and being diligent with what the Lord has been working in your lives and your hearts prior, and then being in this position now. And just, I think even you guys is just personalities and how that balances. Because I feel like out of everybody there, to me, you have like the strongest personality in the sense of like, I feel like your opinions, you're like very stuck on it. I feel like Mitch is as well.
I can see
but
that.
I think just from having conversations and knowing you, like you're stuck on your thoughts and beliefs. That's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just convictions, right? And then Mitch comes in, and then Caleb comes in. Like Caleb is he comes off as very nice. You know?
Bro, Caleb literally, and as footage comes out, you can confirm this. Caleb has literally not talked
Really?
on these episodes. Like this last one we recorded, we talked about insecurities and how we move through them, and it was his idea, and so he talked so much. I was just in my head, I was like, yeah, this week I'm not going to say much because I'm like, he needs to say something. He talked, and afterwards I was like, bro, me and Mitch were like, bro, this is like episode like 12.
Yeah.
You finally said more than 2 minutes worth of content. I was like, bro, it's a podcast.
Yeah.
Like the main thing is that you have to talk. And so like it's funny because he is a nice guy. We're all nice guys.
Yeah.
But
like he's
Caleb,
nicer than you guys.
like, yeah, okay, well, sure. Sure. If it's like a comparison thing for
it's
you,
not a
Josue,
comparison. It's not.
well, I mean, you made it that way.
It just comes off as he's nicer.
Nicer. It's
No, Caleb's cool.
It's naturally like you added on to compare it, like nicer than something.
Okay, maybe he's more kind.
Is that how you felt when you invited me on? It's like, okay, I gotta like really pray because I know he's not the nicest guy.
No, I mean, I think you're nice.
We
I
gotta
just
dive
think,
into the deep end first.
Right.
yeah, I just think Caleb
Caleb.
is just, you know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. He's like more
Yeah.
saved than I am. That was your thought?
Nah, bro, you were 2-time United
Pastor, what you
Nations
talking
most
Gotcha.
influential Christian of the year.
Maybe Caleb's 3-time. We don't
That's
know.
true. Maybe Caleb has 3, 4, 5 times. So we may not know that one, but but I think the dynamics work.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
They do.
Because I think we have like a unique perspective. You know, and being American, and you know myself, you know, from the Congo. Shout out to everybody from the Congo. That was me throwing up the C, not a gang sign. It wasn't a gang sign. It was for.
Let those people in LA know.
Nah, it wasn't a gang sign. It was
need
just
to make sure like you kind of like edit that in post. Like,
nah, Congo started with the C. It wasn't like a gang sign.
A lot of things start with C: cereal, car, crib. So,
Wow.
It just now sinking in.
I guess
Hey, just excuse him. English isn't his first
English
language.
isn't my first language, so I'll be working on these things.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, we're doing this live and crazy audience here. You know, so it makes it really
you're
challenging.
doing a good job of like getting back to it though.
No. I'm just here. I'm a professional. We're 105 episodes in, something like that. I don't know.
This will be a 110.
I was close, I guess.
That's a milestone. Congrats to y'all.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we started off.
Talk about diligence. That's diligence.
Yeah. It's funny that you talk about a meeting because we had a meeting at Torchy's. Shout out to Torchy's. They didn't
Best queso
sponsor
in
us,
the
by the
world.
way. Huh?
Best queso in the world.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Hands down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we had a meeting at Torchy's, and because I don't know if you know about the nonprofit, the Perspectives Worldwide is a nonprofit through which the podcast comes through. So it was an opportunity for us to just kind of utilize that space to be able to.
And Perspectives Worldwide, is that you guys as a nonprofit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Dope.
co-founders of it. So,
What does it do?
so the motto is to serve people, change perspectives, and unity.
Nice.
And so the mission is basically provide travel, culture, and service opportunities for people to grow their perspective, grow their relationship with the Lord through those. And that could be local service opportunities, mission trips, cultural dinners. Like we had one at Congolese cultural dinner a couple years ago. Bro, we need to host that African one.
We do.
We need to talk with Joel and make that happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be fire.
Have the African United Nations in here, bro. That would go crazy. But yeah, so like
That's dope.
his whole family made food. It was amazing. But do that, and then we were just kind of praying because we started that 2017, and then 2018 we were praying through like, okay, like how can we genuinely like serve as many people as possible while still staying in our lane.
Yeah.
And not going like outside of things. And so from there, like we're praying through, it was like, you know what, like podcasts, like, okay, like that's becoming that's a thing now.
It's a thing,
So
yeah,
like,
for sure.
What will we do? And it's just like, okay, bring on guests, talk about how travel, culture, service, let's change their perspective, grow in their faith. And then as this journey has kind of come along, in our life and in perspectives, like the areas of entrepreneurship, of creativity, have come in, especially with this project that we've been working on that we'll share with you afterwards. But in that, like a lot of creativity, a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of philanthropy is within that. And so then from there, it's like, okay, like we can talk with people about that too. Like that's in our lane. Like we're not going outside of overextending ourselves and not staying in what God's set for us.
For sure.
So it's been, and it's a journey, I mean, to even be able to share like what's going on with the nonprofit occasionally as well. And using this as just an avenue to do that. And so it's definitely been an interesting business structure of doing that, of putting a podcast under a nonprofit and being like, okay, it's affiliated, but still a little bit different.
Yeah.
And obviously from there, the business model changes a little bit because it's just like, okay, the primary growth is, or the primary purpose is to be a avenue for the nonprofit and accomplish its mission rather than just growing or whatever else like a podcast in and of itself can do.
For sure.
So it's been an interesting journey. But, whenever you have this personality over here, you can accomplish just about anything.
I would agree with that. I would.
What do you mean by that?
I think I would agree.
That I'm nicer than Caleb, or
I didn't bring that up.
Well, I was just curious. Like, what do you mean by that?
You enjoy comparing people?
Not at all.
That's something you
not at all.
Spend a lot of your free time doing.
The Bible says, "Don't compare yourselves among yourselves; it's not wise."
So you do know it's wrong.
Why you got all those lists up in your room then?
What list?
why you being comparing the LeBron with everyone? Come on, man. Stop trying to defend him.
That's a little bit different.
Oh, walk in your rooms. There gonna be like a picture of my face with like one bean, and a picture of Caleb's face with like 4 beans.
Wait, what do you mean by beads?
Oh, you don't watch The Office?
That's probably one of the worst shows.
That was a fire reference.
It was a fire reference.
Oh
Wait,
my
hold on.
gosh.
Bro, you watched The Office, like for real, like no joke.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a fire. Oh my
Bro,
goodness.
we on national TV.
What does a bean mean, Jim?
What?
Oh, Josue.
Bro, not The Office.
You're missing out. Oh gosh. Anyways.
This just shows you need to get better.
Yep.
Stop watching All American and watch better shows.
You watch All American.
I do it for Dylan, Coop, and my moms. Coach Baker. That's how you be saying it.
All American.
Facts, bro. You watch The Office?
The Office is a literal award-winning show. Actors on there have legitimate careers.
Wow.
Taye Diggs went to The Office after he did all his movies.
Wow.
I went to All American?
The All American, yeah.
All District. He went there after.
All District. Wow.
He did his big time stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
You have anything to defend yourself? Or are you just going to take that one?
You know, it's just not really a comparison thing for me. I'm just
you're right.
I'm just here to do the podcast. Really, at the end of the
One
day,
is clearly
Seriously, you don't get fined?
I don't want to get fined, bro. You literally watch The Office and you laugh like you legitimately laugh like when they make the jokes.
Yes. Steve Carell, John Krasinski,
So like
Helms.
when they look at you in the camera, you also
It's funny. You would like it. It's funny. Your sense of humor, from what I've seen, actually matches up pretty well.
I'm not from America, so that's probably why I don't like it.
So we just need to put Congolese in there and you got it?
I don't really know how to respond to that.
It's okay.
So
It's okay.
next question.
Yeah. Wow. So I have a quote here. It says, "Love is our response to our highest values, and nothing can be less."
This is a setup. This is a hit job.
No, I mean it's a quote.
He just reading the quote.
Yeah, I was reading a quote. Love is our response.
You guys are worse than TMZ.
our highest values. It can be
my
nothing
gosh.
less. That's a quote. I read it somewhere. So
Are you guys an affiliate of the Shade Room?
what? No, I just want to bring it up to you and just hopefully get your thoughts on the quote. That's all I wanted to do.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, that's the quote that's in my bio.
Oh.
On Instagram.
My bad. I just did Google and it came up.
What are the odds?
Yeah, that's kind of
Wow,
crazy how
what a
that
coincidence.
happens.
Look at God.
That's funny.
Wow. So a few months back, we had a conversation about love, and our last podcast we released, we talked about something similar that we talked about was the boundaries that we establish as people, and trying to figure out what love looks like in light of some of that stuff. We had maybe a 2-hour conversation about this very topic. So I'm just curious, after giving that background, curious about some of your thoughts regarding boundaries, regarding love as believers. Let me reiterate for those of you that, mental health, good, boundaries, good. All those things are good. I said good, right? Stephen A. likes doing this. Before he says something bad about LeBron, he'd be like, LeBron is a great guy, a great father, a great basketball player. Anyway, so love is good. No, love. Boundaries are good.
Yeah.
Mental health, good.
Yeah.
We established that. I said it 3 times. But what does it look like in our modern day when we're being told a lot of things I feel, maybe it's just me, a lot of things that I feel that I hear or see on social and whatever makes it very me driven.
Yeah.
Protect me, my mental health, my boundaries, my well-being, all those different things. And it can get to a point where the expression of love is stifled because of the me. So
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. We had a conversation like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where we literally kind of dived into, is love a choice? And again, it started with Mitchell. He kind of it started from a conversation we actually had just hanging out, and he was like, "Yo, I don't think love is a choice. Like, how can it be?" But I think that the boundaries part is interesting because I think you're right. From what I see, it's a lot of me-centered stuff. And I think that is, not to get like super spiritual, but like I think that's a trick of the enemy, right? He tries to get you to think like it's not that he tells you you can do it alone. It's that it's better. It's easier if you do it alone. So not that you have the ability to do these things by yourself, but that, hey, you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to deal with that person. If you go try to do this with this person, you know how he be. You know how Josue is, man. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. You know how Chase is. He's always talking, Trey. You don't want to deal with that. He doesn't tell you that you're strong enough to do it alone because it's preposterous. He tells you, no, it's just easier if you do it by yourself. And so I think we get into that kind of realm when we start to get so me-centered, right? Because he's forcing us to trade the we's for the I's. right? It's not about we anymore. It's about me. It's about me now. It's about the I. So I think boundaries should not look like walls, right? If a boundary makes it harder for someone, inherently harder for them to coexist with you, that's not a boundary. It's a wall. Now, granted, some boundaries will maybe have somebody a little further from you. That's okay.
For sure.
That's okay. I look at it like a boundary should operate like a parking lot, right? In a parking lot, you're not all up on somebody. You got lines, right? In a parking lot, you got speed bumps, crosswalks, stop signs. You may have a security guard, right? You got security cameras. You got all these things so people can be in the same space, go into the same store, and cohabitate a proximity together in the safest and healthiest way, right? That's what boundaries should be in relationships. They should give people access to get to you in the most efficient and healthiest way, right? It should give me the ability to go deeper in a relationship with someone in the safest and healthiest way. And when you park on the line, it affects somebody.
It does.
If I drive and I'm in a hurry and I'm trying to get in the spot and there's a spot like right there next to the door, but somebody parked their SUV 2 feet over the line, it affects me. So another part of boundaries is if they're set up properly, when somebody steps outside the line, you're gonna feel it, right? Could you imagine a parking lot with no stop signs? It's small, they annoy you. People would be speeding all through it. Could you imagine a parking lot going into Target on a Saturday with no crosswalk? Soccer moms would have a field day.
Facts.
It would be wild.
Oh, no.
But it's like, or adversely, could you imagine trying to get into Target and you got to type in a 16-digit code that would open up this huge stone wall? You would not want to go to Target.
Or if everyone parking in that parking lot was a semi-truck, needing a little bit too much space. Always.
It's like we have walls and we're calling them boundaries, and we wonder why we don't got no friends. You've made it impossible. You've made something that is already hard even harder. That's like one of my favorite analogies I've ever heard. It's like it should look like a well-constructed parking lot. And so if that is the case, now you can come. Now you can come. Now you can come. Now you can come. And you realize, wow, I have fit like 100 cars here really well. And everybody's doing pretty good. Sure, this one person may have parked a little bit over the line, but someone else was able to go to another spot. Yeah, it took a little longer. Yep, I have a lot of friends, and yeah, Chase hurt me. And yes, that may have made it difficult for a time for me to interact with Josue, but because the parking lot is still well constructed, I didn't blow everything up. We corrected it. Chase came back. He moved his car. Now we're good. And so I think boundaries should look more like that. Giving someone the tools to interact with me healthily. Now that takes work on my part because I got to be able to recognize if you do this, it's going to make me feel like this. And sometimes that does, and that's the thing though, that sometimes doesn't come until you've been hurt. Sometimes you can't help people learn how to be there for you until you've been through pain. And we try to avoid that. And sometimes you kind of need it.
So you're saying boundaries in a sense, well-constructed parking lot, not always, but at times includes hurt.
Yeah, it can. Because it's, again, a parking lot doesn't mean you won't get in a wreck. It just limits the likelihood that you will. You know what I'm saying? So I think we think boundaries have to stop something. They should actually help you do what you're trying to do. Again, think about, I'm a sports guy. If you think about the out-of-bounds line, it don't stop nobody from playing basketball. It just tells you where you can't go. Very simply, if you go here, that is a turnover. Or if you're on the other side of the line, you're not in the game. So it's like, why would you try dribbling out of bounds? It's not smart. You know what I'm saying? It's going against the rules of the game. So the boundary should be there to help, right? To keep the game confined. You know?
Yeah. And it's related to something that we talked about on that conversation too is like boundaries should be rooted out of love, not fear. And if the boundaries are out of fear, that's what is the thing where then your target turning yourself into a stone wall with a 16-digit passcode because one person crosses a line and then you immediately go to worst case scenario, excuse me, of, oh, now everyone's going to do this. And you project and you assume that in everyone. And it's just like, no. And you're doing a heavy dishonoring of the 99 people who have loved you so well up until that point.
That's so real. That's so real. Like, could you imagine, again, like Target, they got this, like, huge wall. And, like, you climb over because you can't get in. And, like, everybody just rush. The security guards just rush you. You're like, hey, bro, I just was trying to get some toothpaste. I was just trying to be your friend, bro. I'm just trying to be your friend.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But again, like you said, like, and I actually never even thought about that. Like, it does do all those people that want to love you well, that have loved you well, a disservice. Because you're not just keeping one person out. When you build, like, we can't emotionally compartmentalize it like we think we can. You build a wall for somebody, you're building it for somebody else too.
I was watching a friend. He was fixing a car. He opened up the hood, and I'm looking at the hood and seeing all the different things. I'm not a mechanic, so I can't really say. The only thing I know is
you're not?
is a battery.
You have people for that.
You got people for that.
You have people for that.
Yeah, I got people for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
So in the hood, there's the battery, there's the engine, and everything else. And he's saying a whole bunch of things that I have no idea what he's talking about. But
What's one word?
Ooh,
Come on. You
man,
got this.
Water pump.
that's a big word too. Water pump,
The belt?
the belt,
starter.
the starter. We
Spark
kept looking
plug?
for the starter, spark plug,
Radiator?
There we go.
radiator. So you guys are engineers. You went to school for that. So the hood is up, and he almost knows everything in there. And that was his first time seeing that specific car, but he's just able to pinpoint everything to the point where he eventually went underneath the car and kind of fixed an issue or figure out, pointed a symptom of what was going on with the car so that we're able to fix it better. And I remember as he's doing this, I was like, man, that's so crazy. Like, he specializes in this thing. Like, cars are his thing. He's a mechanic by trade. Like, this is what he does. And I was like, if he knows a car like this, God knows.
Boy, you a pastor for real.
Yeah, I be preaching. Let me not.
Almost got up. Boy, you a pastor for real.
I said, God knows us like this.
Yeah, that's good.
So if we're gonna construct our parking lot, why am I constructing my parking lot off of USA Today, Fox
deep.
News,
Yeah. Come on now.
whomever?
Man.
You know,
Yeah.
why am I not constructing my parking lot based off of the one that knows every specific thing and how it's supposed to be? You know, and I think for me, that's where a lot of the issue kind of comes in because I'm taking other voices to construct my boundaries, and it's doing more harm than good. It's now allowing for people to easily get access. It's causing people to put in a 16-digit code that may change every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes it more challenging.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I really wish you watched The Office.
Why?
Because there's an episode where the office manager basically takes over. He's won the job for a while. His name is Dwight. And
Is that the black dude?
Huh? It's not a black dude, no. It's not a black dude.
He's the guy with the glasses.
Yes.
The nerd with the glasses.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So sad.
Wow.
Anyways, long story short, he basically has everybody remember like a 21-digit copier code. And like Kevin, like cannot remember his copier code. But again, it's like he's made it complicated to do something that is very simple. And like even to your point, I had to come to a realization maybe, it's 2019. 2019, where I have been trying to guard my heart for so long. And I realized my inability to be able to do something like that. And like to your point, we try to do things that God himself was specifically designed for. You know what I'm saying? Like he designed us to give everything back to him. You know, everything we do should be going back, working unto him, living worship, all these things. And I think sometimes we get in this space where we try to like hold on to our heart and we try to like put things around it, guard it, all these different things. And we get tired. And sometimes we in our getting tired, we get to this point where we're like building things and after a point you're like, why am I even doing this? And I think I got to a point where I was like, I can't do this. And when I really just surrender, like, Lord, here's my heart. You keep out what you need to keep out.
Right.
There's a freedom there. Because there would be times where I'm like, I don't really know what to do. And the beautiful thing about surrendering, whether it's your life, your heart, finances, whatever, to God, is he's never going to be in a situation where he's like, I don't know. And so I think the guarding of your heart actually gives you freedom to do other things more effectively, like love people. Because I think there's a natural fear in loving someone the way that the Lord has called us to love them. Loving someone as Christ loved the church means you have to die. Like that is the literal definition of it. And that is scary. Like that's really scary to think at some point, if I want to be married, I have to literally be able to wake up every day and not just be okay, but be willing to lay my literal life down for my wife and my family. There is a natural fear that comes with that, but I think the freedom in surrendering lets me know that there's not a single thing that can really snatch me from the hand of God. Like when my heart's there, when my life is there, when I'm surrendering these things, there's a freedom that actually lets me be obedient with reckless abandon. I'm not worried.
It reminds me of, it says, unless the Lord builds, those that build in vain. They're building, but it's in vain, unless the Lord builds, unless the Lord structures our life. We're structuring our lives, but it's in vain, essentially. It's a point where, we do things in our own strengths, and then we wonder why it's not working out, man.
Whenever you brought up guard your heart, I went to the verse we all know, Proverbs 4:23, talking about above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. But I've never really seen this before. So I'm going to read it. I think it kind of goes, I don't know, I think with this way that I'm reading it, it kind of goes along kind of like what you're saying. Starting in like 18. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them, meaning the wicked, out of your sight. Keep them within your heart. For they... Wait. I might be... Whatever, I'm going to read this and we can go through it. But do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them. Maybe it's talking about wisdom. I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, I thought it was talking about the wicked for a minute. All right, whatever. I'll just read it and we'll just go. For they are life to those who find them, and health to one's body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Keep your mouth free from perverse talk. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your heart look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or left. Keep your foot from evil. And what I thought it was saying, because I was like, do not let them out of your sight. I was like, okay, what is them? I was like, okay, maybe it's talking about the wicked. For a second there, I was kind of like, okay, keeping the wicked within your heart, meaning like always praying for them or something like that rather than putting up a wall. And so then from there is like guarding your heart, and everything you do flows from it. And like, yes, there's this part about guarding your heart from the things that go into it, but also guarding your heart to make sure that only pure things are coming out of it was something I was like, okay, maybe that's like one of or more of the emphasis. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean,
Pastor,
there's
you could talk about whatever comes to your
no,
mind.
no. I was gonna say it's interesting that, I mean, that verse. We're called to guard our hearts, but at the same time as well, it's out of the abundance of the heart that things come out, and
Right.
who we are is also, found in that place from that overflow, that abundance. That's in the heart as well, and so I like to think about how the Lord comes in. It says that once He makes the cup clean, He's able to pour in that new wine. And so if we're called to renew our minds, constantly be in a place where we're renewing our minds, not conforming to the world, right? But renewing our minds so we may prove what is that good, perfect, and acceptable
Right.
will of the Lord. And it brings me back, and I'm like, are the things that I've put in my life, are those things acceptable to Him? Can He do what He wants to do with what I've established in a sense, right? Because like you said, I mean, once again, boundaries are good. The Lord formed the world through boundaries. He said, hey, you water, you do this. You land, you do this. He created boundaries. The Lord established this. It's nothing new to Him. But the freedom, what I'm desiring from this conversation, hopefully, is the freedom that you're talking about that's found once we're in this place where healthy boundaries are established. It allows us to have more, to be in better community and relationship with people.
Right.
Because relationship with people includes being hurt. Love does.
It does.
It does. Like, there is no escaping that.
It's like a prerequisite.
It is. There is no escaping moments of offense. Offense will come. Didn't Jesus say that? Offense will come. There is no escaping that.
Right.
It says to bear one another's burdens. It might suck for you at a time, but hey, bro, you got to bear my burden in times. It says prefer others more than yourselves. Sometimes you got to put me ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
All of these things are for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
We talked about fruit last time.
Yeah.
Every tree that bears fruit and eats its own fruit is a dead tree. It's a cancerous tree in a sense, right? Trees that bear fruit is for the purpose of others.
Yeah.
Right? Trees don't bear fruit and then set up boundaries. No, you can't enjoy my fruit.
The apple tree doesn't pick its own apples, bro.
Exactly. It's for other people to come and take the fruit that is produced from your life.
Right.
My thing is just like, let's not set up walls that prevents people from
your joy from feeding others.
Yeah.
Literally, your peace from feeding others.
I'm glad you brought in creation. There's a few things you said. It's like, one, God 100% created things with boundaries, but I think the boundary is relationship. That sounds weird, but like, it's in Genesis, He says before He gets a man, everything shall produce of its own kind. Creation is predicated on you being near something that is like you. That's why it wasn't good until he got Eve, because he could not walk in the fullness, the image, and the likeness without being with someone that could help him produce of its own kind. He was alone, but God was still there. Why does He say that? Because there was no real relationship between the God that is perfect and Adam, his creation. He couldn't create with God. So that means me and you have a level of intimacy to some extent that I don't necessarily share with God. And I think that actually tells me that my relationship with other people gives me access to intimacy with the Lord, because it shows me at least a reflection of what happened in the creation of man amongst the Trinity. Right? And so He shows us, like, in creation, one, horse produces horse, which means you should not try to create something with someone who is not like you. That goes in marriage, And that goes with a literal reproduction. Like, don't be out here doing weird stuff, bro. But also, it also tells us that God's love for us was so real, even in creation, that he saw that we couldn't relate to him in the same way a woman and a man can relate to each other. So he gave him Eve. He wasn't really alone. God was there. But he was alone in the sense of like, hey, this is somebody who looks like me, which, again, his response tells us, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He recognized something. Didn't see it in the cow, didn't see it in the pig, didn't see it in the fish. You know what I'm saying? So I think that boundary that you were talking about is also understanding that when I step outside of the Lord's boundaries, I now forfeit a part of my God-given image and likeness that was given to man in creation. I now forfeit my ability to be like God. I am of God's own kind. When I am outside of his boundaries, I forfeit that power. I forfeit that divine, God-given authority. You know what I'm saying? So I think also, to kind of relate this back to, community boundaries, all that kind of stuff, we have to look like God, right? We have a certain level of authority. We have a certain level of power on the earth given to us by the Lord. That does not come without also the reflection, image and likeness. So you cannot be a body apart from the body. In other words, a hand is not a hand if it's cut off. Like if I pick up that cup and it's got a hole in it, it was a cup. Now it's broken. Now it's useless. If you are a believer and you remove yourself from community, are you really a believer? Are you really a part of the body? You lose your effectiveness, and therefore you forfeit your ability to operate in that God-given divine authority to reflect the image and bear the authority that God has given us. And so I think we've got to realize that, like, it's not one or the other. It's not I'm going to obey God and forfeit his people. It's not I'm going to be in community and ignore the laws of God. It's the image and the likeness, the reflection and the authority. And they go together.
Yeah. And 2 Peter 1 talks about, like, add to virtue, knowledge, all that, but brotherly affection and add love, but you have to have people around you to have brotherly affection. And then right after that says, if these qualities are yours and increasing, they keep you from being ineffective and unfruitful. And it's interesting because I just kind of wonder, like, why do we think sometimes that we can, like, skip out on certain things that are in the Bible and still yield the same results in terms of just like, all right, I don't need community. All right, I'll still stay close to God. Or, oh, I don't need purity. I can still stay close to God. I think in a way it's because, like, in other areas of life, like, oh, I could cheat on this test and still get an A. Or I can sleep with this girl and still stay with my wife if she don't find out, all this kind of stuff. I think it's just stuff that, like, this culture, well, not even this culture, because it happens in every culture around the world, but just, in the way, like, we pick up things from the outside world at a subconscious level that we aren't aware of, and from there it just applies. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm sure there's something else to that of, like, why we think we can just pick what we want from the Lord and from the Bible and think it's going to be okay.
Man, I don't know. That's tough, but I think in terms of, like, community, I think, again, like, it's just hard. And the thing, again, I think we get it, like, it's selfish. It's like, this is a really hard friendship. But it makes me think about Ephesians 4, where Paul opens up and he's like, yo, bearing love with one another, right? And then a few verses down, he tells us why we bear in love, for the maturity and the unity of the body. So again, he's like, you walk with this through this person, not just for this person, not just for your sanctification, but because this builds and edifies the body. A lot of times I think we also get, like, we get so now, like, we focus on the now so much. This is hard now. This is tough now. I want to do this now. I'm feeling horny. Yeah, I want to sleep with her, even though I got a wife. But it's the now. And it's like, I love that verse because He doesn't just tell us to do something, but he tells us why. And understanding that why actually shifts my perspective. So again, like going back to like, yeah, I'm not going to sleep with my wife because although this may feel good now, I'm not going to sleep with somebody other than my wife.
Yeah.
Because it may feel good now, but what does this do, not just to me and her, but to the body? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's tough because that's all sin is. It's this constant battle of like our flesh, the enemy trying to make us forfeit what he knows is to come for what we have in front of us right now. That's all. Like that's what it was when Eve ate the apple. She what did she said? God told her not to touch it. That's not true. all he does is get us to make God more restrictive than he actually is. That's all that was. That's all it was, convincing us God is someone he has never shown us to be. And so, like, all those things, I think, can be traced back to a perspective issue. Like, this is what I want now, but is what I want now worth forfeiting the promises of what I know will come?
Yeah, because you're sacrificing something one way or the other. Like, and the topic of like loving others and boundaries, like the initial question that we were kind of talking about that even led to all of this was like, we know John 15, like there's no greater love than to sacrifice your life, lay down your life for someone. And I was like, we were like, what if there was a situation where the Lord was like, lay down your life, but we didn't in the name of boundaries? And that's why I was just like,
Wow.
Dang. And then even from there, I was talking with Miles about this. Man, when was Joseph over Saturday? Because this hit me on Saturday. But if we go to Romans 9, this has got to be the most I've ever brought up scripture. I'm sorry I'm taking your job, kind of.
No, you're good, bro.
But appreciate your generosity. But if we go to Romans 9 at the very start of it, it says, and then Paul emphasizes this right here. I am speaking the truth. I am not lying. My conscience bears witness to me in the Holy Spirit that I have great sorrow and unceasing anguish in my heart, for I wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my brothers. He loves his brothers so much.
Paul was a G.
That he would cut himself off from Christ if it meant that they would be saved, if it meant that they would be received in Christ. And I asked myself this question. I asked Miles this question. I was like, are we humble enough? Are we willing to sacrifice enough? Do we love others enough that we'd be willing to sacrifice our relationship with Christ so they could have it? And for me, honestly, at this point, I'm like, I really don't think so. If I'm gonna be totally honest,
that's a really tough
there's
question.
very few, there would be very few people in my life that I think I would answer yes to. But that is still just like that is the level that God wants us to get to.
Yeah.
Is that level of loving others and being willing to sacrifice whatever it is right now for the fact of obedience.
Yeah.
And for the fact of, exactly as you were saying, like maturing others. Because even one small decision of sacrifice now, something that we kind of want for the sake of obedience, for the sake of loving others, can do so much in terms of just the small seed that's planted that compounds over time and over time and over time.
Right. Man, I've never had somebody ask me that question. That's tough. I don't have to answer, right?
No, you do not. That is rhetorical.
I'm not going to answer. Would you like to answer, Josue?
On the bright side, y'all can be Jesus too. You know?
Amen. Amen.
That's a no for me, big dog. That's a no for me, big
On
dog.
the bright side.
Yeah, no, that's one of those crazy verses in the Bible where you read it, you're just like, dang, Paul. That's
what's up, bro. I'm gonna keep reading those.
Yeah. I'm like,
got
good
some
for
other
you,
stuff
dog.
in this book I gotta get to. Thank you
Good
for
for
that.
you, big homie. But
Thank you for sharing.
We appreciate that information. Yeah, no, I mean I don't know. I just enjoy the love conversation and everything that entails. And I think one of the things that I was kind of curious about before we land the plane, as Chase likes to say. I think social media is a very interesting place. Social media, I find a very interesting place. It's an experiment. It's all those things. And so within the
Siri.
within the social media realm, specifically Twitter, right? My FBI agent is doing homework right now. He enjoys the podcast, by the way, so he says he does. So within the Twitter sphere, specifically Twitter, I feel like there is this big, almost divide that's kind of happening between men and women, to where the word that I hear a lot of times, like manhood, is being, there's an affront against manhood. I don't know what that means, but that's kind of the things that I hear nowadays because men are apparently toxic and trash and all the other words that are kind of associated with that, and then you see some guys and certain behaviors, you're like, dang, man, we were just doing good, and then here you go, acting up,
many of
so
those
it's,
out there,
there's too many. Just when you just come to defend us, somebody does something, you're like, man, you just send us back, man, is there such a thing as, like, is there a healthy man, a healthy manhood that we can hopefully get to, in a sense that helps us kind of navigate through the time and age that we're in right now?
Yeah, I think it is, bro. And, so one of the things I did when we started, around the time we started, I started, like, researching different podcasts on YouTube for a lot of different reasons. One reason Mitch was like, hey, we want to understand, to a certain degree, who's our competition. I say competition in quotation just because, like, not necessarily we're trying to knock people out, but, like, they've set an example. They're doing good. This is what we want. And I came across a specific podcast. I don't know if I can name it on here.
Is there FF?
Yes.
Okay.
F and F, yes.
Yeah.
And I stopped because I got angry. And I was like, you don't deserve the internet. Like, you don't deserve Siri. You don't deserve Google Maps. Get a MapQuest book.
Wow.
You don't deserve email. You don't deserve Wi-Fi.
Wow.
None of it.
Maybe a light bulb, but
Maybe,
that's pushing it.
but, like, give me your smartphone. It's been fun.
Wow.
And I think, to your question, I think one of the things is, as men, we have to be okay with being challenged. Because they have, like, and if it sounds like I'm getting on them or I'm hating, I'm not. But it's just genuinely, they do have a platform, and, like, they've built it up for a reason, and they've gotten so big. But it's like, bro, like, I don't know how many videos you watch, but I could see the hurt and the pain. You know what I'm saying? And so I think as men, another thing we have to do is, like, before we step into some of these spaces, we have to address some of the things that we've got internally, right? Because it's very clear when somebody's communicating from a place of hurt, from a place of pain, from a place of trauma. And I wholeheartedly believe that those two men are gifted. You don't get the following they got without some sort of gift. But I think the pain and whatever they've been through has kind of twisted it. It has kind of shaped it and molded it. And so I think another part of us getting to a healthy place of manhood is, like, being okay, comfortable, and consistent in addressing that trauma, addressing that hurt, addressing that pain. And then doing what we see a lot of people doing, having the open conversations, inviting people in. You know what I'm saying? Don't just get a camera, get a microphone, press record, and just talk. Another part of it is you learn when you have those conversations with people. You gain freedom. Revelation is 12:11. You know what I'm saying? They overcome by the word of their testimony. Bring other people in. Invite that freedom into your space. You know what I'm saying? Like, these conversations, they give freedom. But they don't happen if you just get a camera and talk by yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, like, also allowing people in your space. But yeah, bro, I get real irked when I see people who have real deal talent, which they do. People have a real deal gifting to communicate, which they do. And they use it to just degrade and just push their own, like, project so heavily on people. And it's like, as men, we cannot do that. I still believe that the Lord has called us to lead. And that's in every single area, right? So if we're out here communicating, all these different things, and we could go on and on, right, about some of the ridiculous things we've heard men say. Women are this, men, men should do this. Even the provider conversation, that is a conversation, even in Christian circles, we got to continually kind of reassess, right? We got to massage that. But if we're not having those conversations, we're not allowing people in, if we're not being honest and open, first and foremost, with the Lord in our personal time, those things are going to seep out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I think, we could definitely get there, but it's like the openness, the humility to be corrected and to have people come in and say, I know you've seen and only experienced these things, but let me kind of open you up to like another side of it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's crazy that we was both thinking the same people.
no, it's. I saw because I posted a question about people. I posted a confession about people leaving their phones in their back pocket, and one of my friends, she messaged. She was like, "Well, women's pockets are too small," and I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Well, apparently back in the day, they didn't want women to have pockets so they can depend on men." And I was like, "This can't be real."
What?
And she found an article.
Yo.
I was like, "This is probably one of the craziest things I ever heard." But anyway, so besides that, but to your point of dealing with things in I think just growing up, I've always kind of had a perspective, from life experiences of what a man should be.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this guy, he's actually one of the pastors at the Upper Room. I was listening to one of his sermons.
Who, Reward?
No, Brother Peter Lewis. And he was talking about, he was giving the sermon, and he said it was a time where he was angry with one of his kids. I think that's what happened. And he was about to do something, and the Lord reminded him, he says, that I am gentle.
Wow.
And I remember simply just hearing that.
Wow.
It made me take a step back, and as a man and what I thought a man should be. And I was like, what does the gentleness part of that kick in?
Right.
It is not that, so gentleness measures,
Only using the proper amount of force that's necessary.
There it goes.
It's not harmlessness.
Yeah, you being able to use that necessary amount of force, right, to be able to accomplish something, and it's one of those things that I think about.
Yeah,
being gentle as a person, because for some reason I go around, people just think I'm an angry dude. I'm some dude that's just like gonna scare them. So that's why I started enjoying wearing my do-rags, because it kind of adds to the stereotype. I like that part.
Gotcha.
But on the inside, I'm thinking about gentleness. Mm-hmm. Because it's something that I think is important for us as men to embrace.
Yeah.
Because that's not always something that we're able to express or show or anything like that. Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like allowing. I've learned to sit in what it means to allow myself to feel things. Because I think even as a man, like,
that's what he does. He cries a lot.
Wow.
It's okay. We've talked about it.
No, everybody already knows it's out there.
Cry a lot.
It's kind of how you said it, though.
No, but he cries a lot. It's okay.
I forgive you. It's okay.
No, like legitimately.
Bro, you good.
I'm just messing with you. But I think I'm learning.
Dang, you really need to watch The Office to learn what a joke is.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
You should stop watching All American.
Yeah, I know.
Like not. Anyways, goodness. So yeah, I've learned like what it means to like allow myself to feel, and it's a tough thing because it's a fine line of allowing yourself to feel things and not allowing the feelings to overtake you. Because I've seen it in myself where I allow those feelings to overtake me, and it's like that's all I see. I'm angry, and that's all that matters. Like, all that matters is that you did something wrong to me, and I'm going to communicate how I want to. I'm going to talk to you how I want to. I'm going to yell at you, scream, all that kind of stuff. And now my anger, my emotions, something that if explored and expressed properly, not only help me understand about myself, but it also helps you understand about me, kind of taking this shift, and now they're a weapon to make you it's now almost my goal to make you as mad as I'm mad because, you know what I'm saying, that's how I feel. And I think probably one of the deeper forms of intimacy is actually allowing people to see you hurt. You know what I'm saying? Allowing people to see you cry. You know, allowing people to see you happy, confused. As a man, one of my biggest things is when I'm dating a woman, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I don't know something. I'm now allowing myself to be like, I don't know. Figure it out. Come back in like a day or something, I'll have an answer, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I think the best example I can give scripturally is the Lazarus story, right? You know, we all know he was like 2 days away, or he waited a couple of days, then he got there. And he cried, you know, he wept. And I think the beauty in that is there was a reverence that like Jesus had for the mission that the Lord had given him, but there were still emotions that he had present for his friend. And we know this because when he raised him from the dead, he literally tells the disciples, like, I did this so that you would believe. And so it's the perfect example of expressing my emotions, but not allowing my emotions to overtake me to the point that I'm now outside of the will of God. And I think, man, that's such a beautiful reminder as a man, because it's like there's a space that I can operate where my emotions can be expressed and I don't forfeit, you know, my right to be a part of what the Lord is doing because I'm angry or because I'm sad or because, you know, I'm happy. You know, sometimes happiness, you know, the feeling of being happy can actually be very dangerous. There have been times where I'm really happy and I've bought like 3 pairs of shoes at one time. And I'm like, yeah, I love these shoes, but this was a bad choice.
Yeah.
You know, like this is not a good idea. And so it's like, I think we have to find that. And again, like it's beautiful. I think that's my favorite thing to point back to when we talk about emotions, because that's Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Jesus wept. You know what I'm saying? Like the power behind that isn't just in the tears. Again, it's in the recognition that my emotions are not the most important thing here. And that's tough. Because when you feel something, that's what you feel. Like and again, some emotions are easier than others. Like if I'm frustrated because I'm in traffic, I'll be fine in 10 minutes. But like I remember, you know, navigating losing my grandfather in 2019, and it was like this. It was up and down. And so it's good to know that there's an example of not forfeiting that, but also the Lord's like, nah, don't cry. It's not like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that.
Yeah. And I think he doesn't even know, but I was totally joking earlier. Thanks for the forgiveness. But I think just seeing him, like, just whether it's journaling or just hearing him in prayer and things like that, I think it's helped me out, you know, so you probably didn't know that. You know, kind of recognize, because I grew up a certain way.
Right.
And I always thought, you know, you had to be a certain way, especially as a man. And seeing a different side, you know, with a roommate and a brother, you know, it's allowed me to be like, man, let me kind of reevaluate some of these things that I thought was supposed to be this way, but it's okay to, you know, express certain things. Like there's a few people that have seen me cry. She's one of the people that have seen me cry, right? And for some reason, I didn't like that. Not understanding, dude, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay to cry. It's okay to, because there was a time where, you know, I prided myself in not crying. I was like, man, I haven't cried in 10 years. I'm good, you know? And then the one time I did cry because I lost my friend, I thought the world was over. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I mean, so that's just a good perspective that you brought up, I think, with the Lord and how he allows us to express and feel certain things. And he doesn't slap us with the faith thing. You know, we definitely don't lose faith, but he allows us to be able to express emotions. But I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
Appreciate that encouragement. Tend to do this from time to time.
Indeed. Hey, look, I like
That's
it.
good though. I just, I don't know. I just think it's so cool because I just think it's so needed of just everything that you're talking about. And it's interesting. I didn't want to bring this up. I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to mention it just for the sake of mentioning it. And y'all could read it later if y'all want. But I write a good amount, sometimes for like devotional teaching kind of stuff, but sometimes more expressive kind of stuff. And I wrote this, I wrote this expressive piece like back in July of last year because of some things I was going through. And I titled it, Pain is Necessary in Pursuing Love. And I don't think just romantically either. I think like friendships too. And essentially the end of it is like pain is sometimes necessary in pursuing love. And it's sometimes necessary to know your heart is feeling and actually open to receiving love. Because, there was a lot of numbness I went through in like 2017 through basically like early last year because of like previous girlfriend who just did some not nice things. I'll just put it that way. And I walked through a lot in like 2018, 2019 and dove into business and travel and all this other stuff as a way to kind of like lie to myself about the numbness. And I'm grateful to the Lord that he redeemed that and was able to use all of that for good, and walk with me a lot through that process. But it's, in like 2021, it was, I still don't have words for it, but it was one of the most like important processes that I ever walked through the Lord with, of like him recreating like a heart of flesh in me and turning my heart of stone into a heart of flesh again. And a part that came with that over the last like 6 to 7 months or so is like sonship as well. An understanding of like, okay, I think there's some, like, we don't have to get into it here because I think it opens up a whole nother topic, but I think there's something about sonship that informs manhood.
It's crazy.
That is just such a key thing. But and us just waking up to, not even just waking up, but receiving the authority, as you said, that comes from sonship. And the fact of like, basically like, hey, like we're not servants, like we're sons. And there's beauty that comes with that.
That's crazy you say that. So there's one of my I look at him as a big brother, Ezekiel, and we've been doing a lot of stuff. Ezekiel, shout out to Ezekiel, John, Darius, all those people, Will, Reg. We have been talking, just he kind of had this heart for like men being, in a real kind of community together. And so, we got together, got a bunch of guys, long story short, as we were kind of developing like what we're going to talk about, sonship has been like, that's been a thing for like the last year and a half. It's free sons. That's kind of like the theme. And it comes from this idea that it's John 8, where, Jesus is like, what place does a servant have but a son? Man, a son. And so it is the freedom, right? Because when the prodigal son came back, the father went and met him, right? He went and met him. He didn't wait for him to get to the door. He ran as soon as he saw him. That is the reaction that God has had for us throughout time. Sin came and the relationship was broken. He took off. Right? we see the laws, Leviticus, all these things, Hosea, all these things are God literally chasing us down. And the sacrifice that Jesus gave afforded us real adoption. And so this ability to now operate as children again. Because before, we were having to do all these things to continually stay in the good graces of God. Sacrifices. And, even the intricacies of when we read Leviticus, what they had to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went through Leviticus for the first time recently with New Deal. And it just was eye-opening what we had to do. And then to think about how we could press pause and get on our hands and knees and be at the feet of God. Like that. We have been given, in part, this space back in the house. And I think that freedom sometimes gets missed because we're so used to it, right? We're so used to being able to say, all right, bow your heads and pray. All right, Lord, forgive me for cussing my coworker out. Fam, they used to have to go through like an 8-hour process to get forgiveness for that one. You know what I'm saying? Like they used to go get the goat, go get the quail, and it was so specific, right? You couldn't offer this for this sin, but you could offer for this sin and this. And it's what sonship gives you is a freedom that comes through relationship. Like you're not gonna let anybody in that house. If I didn't know you, or you guys didn't invite me, I came, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey, can I come in and record a podcast with you guys?" You'd be like, "I don't know, bro. It's kind of weird." But the intimacy of being allowed into somebody's home, what place does none? But a son has one forever. The intimacy that we now have gives us the ability to move freely. Right? You look at Jesus and you look at a man who was in part a fugitive. And bro was out here teaching from boats, teaching in the temple courts where they knew he was, right? And what's crazy is a lot of times if you go back and look, I think it may be in Luke or Matthew, there's a few specific times where it was like they recorded and say, hey, they were looking for Jesus and he slipped away. I think Jesus understood that they were looking for him, but he didn't stop what he was doing because he understood who sent him. And he knew like his time would not come before the Lord deemed it so. And I think that's the freedom that he talks about in John 8, where he's like, yo, like, I know where I come from and who sent me. I know, who you are. I know you're an agent of lies. You're an agent of darkness. You acting just like your father. But I think the ability to operate as sons gives us that freedom to say, I'm going to move, I'm going to go about my life in such a way that screams who God is and how good he is. And that's the only thing I'm worried about. My protection, my provision, my life has already been sealed. It's already taken care of. So I don't have to worry about, day to day. And so, man, that's crazy that you brought that up because that's literally all we've been talking about for a year and a half.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think even for anybody listening, I mean, you practically went through the old and brought in the new. It's 1 John 3, verse 1. It says, "Beloved, one manner of love has the Father bestowed upon us that we should be called children of God."
Yeah.
If there is, if you guys have caught on a couple of times, whenever I end people's introductions, I always introduce them as children of God. That's the number one thing that we are outside of any other thing, that's intentional. Right. And it's a reminder, for all of us in our trying to figure out and go through this process of life, that's who we are. We're children of God, and it's a privilege to be just that. And it's a high privilege for us to be just that. So, the conversation kind of goes all over the place, and then we get to these real moments as well. And, so we're grateful to the Lord that He invited us into His family. You know, as many as believed in Him, to them He gave the right to become children of God. You know, it's not through perfection, it's not through performance, it's through belief. As many as believed to those He gave the right. So sonship is a right that's given. It's given through belief, right? It's available for us. It's available for you. It's available for each and every single person. So I hope your relationship with the Lord, it's one with from a place of intimacy, as you've heard us share a couple times. It's one where you can come in the house, because every time I go to my parents' house, I have a key. I can walk in and I'm welcomed every time I go in. If a stranger was to do the same thing, it would be weird, right? And in the Lord's house, He welcomes us as sons and daughters. So hopefully that's a message, something that you are able to take away from that as well. I know you probably want to land the plane, so to say, and kind of wrap us up from there. So
Yeah, we just start to land the plane. Not taking too hard of a left turn,
Okay.
but what because we don't really get the chance to talk about this too much, so why not tag it on at the end? For you, what is what's been the most fun part about the podcast and being able to host it? And then for you, what has been one of the things that's just been challenging that you've kind of been able to grow in during the process?
I'll start with the fun part. The podcast has been great because I love I'm like super big on community. And so I love having conversations like this. If we was in a room and it was like 10, 20 people here, I would not want it to end. So I love being able to have the conversations, you know, with Mitch and Caleb. Obviously, I love them both dearly. But also, like, I really enjoyed that idea, that live audience thing, because it just brings a more organic feel, you know what I'm saying, to the room. And I never, like, I don't want people to think that, like, and we all have the sentiment, we don't want people to think, like, oh, we're trying to teach. Nah, fam, there's stuff we don't know, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of it, right? But I really enjoyed that community part of it. It just gave it a different vibe, and I love it. I think one of the things is, like, just being challenging. I've been challenged to be a better communicator. And I think, you know, you have a certain level where you're like, yep, I'm a decent communicator. And then you get in a situation, you're like, I didn't communicate that well. I need to do better. I need to, you know, continue to hone that skill, hone that gifting of communication. And I think another challenge is, like, and it's tough, to enter in these conversations, to not try to, like, convince or be right. Because like, me, Mitch, and Caleb are actually, like, real life friends. We hang out. Like, a lot of the things we talk about, man, we've already talked about. We've already discussed. I know what they're coming in to say. And so one challenge for me has always been, like, all right, Trey, when you walk in, it's not a right versus wrong. Let's see how you can learn. You know what I'm saying? Let's see how you can grow in your perspective. Let's see how you can see things. Excuse me, I felt it coming. Let's see how you can, like, just see things from a different viewpoint. Maybe you are wrong. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's been another challenge, because in the moment I catch myself. You out here trying to, like, be right. Look at you, big man on campus. It's like, man, listen, see where he's coming from. You know what I'm saying? So that's been a challenge for me as well. But yeah, it's been a great joy. I love it. I truly look forward to Sundays. Yeah.
Good, bro. Any last things for your boy?
nah, we're definitely hoping to pull up one of these Sundays. Come join the live audience.
Not hoping, we will.
Yeah. We'll pull up to the live Sunday to come join the audience. Brother Mitch definitely extended the invite, so we want to honor that. And
Standing invite.
Yeah.
As many Sundays as you want to.
Yeah, we want to come hang out with you guys. I think it'll be a great time, be able to have a great conversation as well. But, man, just thank you for coming on. I know it was a little bit last minute.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and you came on. I think that was probably probably was very, 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 very valuable conversation, to be able to have. So yeah, we appreciate just being able to the openness and everything that you shared as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think it's good. I think relating back to the prodigal son story that you mentioned, as I was kind of praying, like it's something that when he was the most manly was not when he went off on his own,
Yeah.
but was when he returned to his father's house. And it's funny because if we go to Hebrews 4:16, let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. And it's been something that I don't think it's necessarily been out of a place of need, but just the Father. The Father is thankful that you are drawing near to Him. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I don't think we often think of like the Father being thankful. Mm-hmm. But what we know is that Jesus only did what He saw the Father do. And how many times did Jesus give thanks? Mm. And so in that, I think that for us, yes, we owe obedience to the Father because of His sacrifice of His Son. But at the same time, anytime someone accepts a gift from us or an invitation from us, we're thankful for that.
Yeah.
When eventually us three all get married to our beautiful wives,
they will be beautiful.
They will be beautiful.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
We're going to be thankful to them who accept the invite. And so He's thankful for you drawing near to Him and walking in that sonship and walking in that true manhood.
That's good.
Bro, so keep with it, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
So it'll be good. Are you sure no more jokes?
I don't have jokes. I just come to do my podcast, really.
One more office quote to end it? Anything to get them hooked by chance?
I've been discouraged by his response thus far, so why continue dishing out my pearls? So
it's a swine. Yeah, of course.
There you go.
Of course.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here so we can get him to watch The Office, finally. Thank y'all for tuning in. All of our information will be in the description below. If you want to support us, the outreaches, the podcast, everything that we're doing, all of Elisha's information and all of Black Men Do Talks information is going to be in the description. If you want to go support them, go check them out.
Yes.
Definitely go do that.
Yes.
Definitely go do that. If you've listened to this and if you listened to Street Hymns episode and you haven't listened to theirs yet, I don't know what you're doing. Thank you again, though, bro.
I really appreciate y'all allowing me to pull up.
Yeah,
It was
bro.
a dope time.
It was fun. So until next time, much love. God bless.